Caulfield, Chairman of the Public Safety Subcommittee. To my left is Councilor Frankie Dakota, also a member of the committee, and to my right is Councilor Rodney Elliott, a member of the committee. And there was a motion brought forward, I believe it was Councilor Rodney Elliott, to refer the Lowell Police Department report to the subcommittee about issues downtown and how we can find solutions and resolutions to those issues. I'd like to recognize, Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Chairman Caulfield.
Here.
Council Dakota.
Here.
Council Elliott.
Here.
All present.
Very briefly, I just want to recognize the people in attendance, Mayor Jim Milanazzo, Councilor Patrick Murphy, Superintendent of the Lowell Police Department, Ken LaValle, City Manager Bernie Lynch, Henry Marchand, Assistant to the Manager, City Solicitor Christine O'Connor, Elliot Filoso from the Law Department, members of the License Commission, Walter Bayless, business owners, citizens, and residents of downtown, representing UMass Lowell, Paul Marion, and I just want to recognize Joseph Mendonça, member of the Lowell City Council, who just came in and sat down. This hopefully is a fact-finding issue to address issues that the police department has brought forward, and I would like to open up the meeting with Police Chief Ken. I'm sorry, I want to open up the meeting recognizing Manager Lynch because he has to leave early. Manager Lynch, if you want to make an opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the subcommittee for calling this meeting so quickly upon our presentation of a report from the police superintendent regarding the issues that we've identified in the downtown area. I think, as everyone knows, we're very pleased to have a very successful and prosperous downtown with a number of great establishments that really are part of Lowell being such a destination city. However, with that, as you know, and as the report clearly indicates, there can be problems that result from that. And we think it's important that we get ahead of this, and I'm not sure we're totally ahead of this. As the report indicates, there have been issues that have already arisen, and certainly the residents of the downtown area know, and the other establishments in the downtown area that have not had problems know that there are some locations that we've had issues in. I've given to the council a memorandum that transmits a report that the police superintendent has provided to me in follow-up to the report that he gave you. That he gave to me, that I forwarded on to the council at the last council meeting. And if I could just read, it's a very brief transmittal memo that I placed on top of it. If I could just read that very quickly, because I think it details my position on this. And then I think as you indicated, Councilor Caulfield, I think the police superintendent is really the best resource to discuss this issue. But as I point out in my memorandum, over the last several months, the Lowell Police Department has observed an increase in the number of incidents and issues in the downtown related to alcohol, which can be traced to establishments identified as problematic liquor establishments. These incidents and issues are described in detail in a report dated August 19th and provided to the City Council at the meeting on the 23rd. At that meeting, I indicated the administration would work with public safety officials, the business community, and others to develop recommendations to address these serious concerns in a way that will place a priority on public safety and quality of life while fostering a positive climate for our local venues to do business. In the attached memo, the superintendent advocates for a closure time of 1 a.m. for all liquor establishments. In addition, Superintendent LaValle has suggested a number of other measures for considerations on what could be done to prevent problems, ensure public safety, and ensure economic vitality. This is not an exhaustive list, but a starting point for further discussion and input as the subcommittee weighs the issue. Any measures will require further examination as to how and if implementation could be carried out to meet legal requirements. I look forward to working with the council as we develop a strategy to address these serious concerns.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. There's another important meeting tonight at the Senior Center that involves the cemeteries and so forth. So Manager Lynch has to go to that meeting. So Walter Bayless has to go to that meeting as well. But I'd like to have the chief open up the meeting on your report. Then I'm going to ask Walter Bayless to come to the podium so he can attend that meeting. You want to go first, Walter? Walter Bayless.
My name is Walter Bayless. I serve as chairman of the License Commission. I come tonight not as a representative of the License Commission or my fellow commissioners. I come on my own. I think, number one, it was a very strange situation that here's a major safety issue with the downtown bars. And the only one that's going to close the bars at 1 o'clock in the morning is the License Commission, yet they were not issued an invitation. I would have thought somebody in the government would have said, gee, maybe we ought to get the guys on the License Commission to come down to this public hearing. To me, I think that public safety starts with everything. It doesn't have to do with just the bars. People that have moved into the downtown area moved into a business-zoned area. The founding fathers founded it as a business zone. They have moved in. We have allowed them to take buildings that were industrial buildings that were zoned, convert them to housing, and, you know, now we're saying, whoa, wait a minute, we don't want the business here because they're making noise. A reasonable amount of understanding on both sides takes place. Last week, at the last licensing commission, we had a very lengthy discussion about this report. Many of the items on this report could happen to anybody that's in business, not necessarily a restaurant or a bar room or someone serving alcoholic beverages. There are things that are on there. We have to understand that the reason why the reports have been escalated is because most of the bar owners are hiring extra details. And they get a detail in, and in fact, Hook Slide Kelly's was a perfect example. He hired a second detail, and he got twice as many complaints. And every time a detail officer calls, and we sit there as a commission, the License Commission, and say to the bar owners, call. The moment something gets out of hand, call the police department. Don't call 911. If you watch today's tape, at the meeting today, I said to the people, make sure you have the Lowell number programmed in your phone. Do not call 911 because it's going to go to Framingham and it's going to take time to get back here. And so I suggest to them that they keep it on their phone so if there's a problem. So I was quite amazed about this, that every time a detail officer, policeman that they're hiring and paying overtime to, steps up to try to break up a disagreement or something, it's a mark against him. And if we go down there, the majority of those complaints are written up by the detail officer. Not by, phone calls to the police department, send somebody down, we got a full-scale riot. It is a downtown area. It's not Tingsboro or Dunstable or Chelmsford. This is a downtown metropolitan area. People that live in this area have to understand that. Most of the people that are in government today in this city live out of the city. They have they're completely disconnected with the downtown area. They have no comprehension. People in all the little towns come to Lowell to have a good time. Over the years, the License Commission has always had a police representative. And I think back in my early days of being on the commission, and I was really gung-ho, and, we were going to tear the world up, and I think we've done a pretty good job, but I always used to laugh because the police department representative's famous saying always was, and I quote, they're not going to church, Walt. They're coming to the city to have a good time. So try to remember that. They're not. But I ask questions like, we hear conversation over cross-training people. Why can't we have people like inspectors or parking clerks? We have them in the downtown area. Why can't we have them throughout the whole city? Break the city down in sections. Talk to Adam Backey. He'll tell you that any community that enforces the parking enforcement on parking more than pays for itself. More than pays for itself. Well, if we had people and we became a city of laws and a city of rules, just the parking alone, tonight when you leave here, I challenge any one of you, go home, count the number of cars parked on the sidewalks on the way home. It's all over the city. We spent millions of dollars to make the sidewalks handicap accessible, and all we did was we provided an easier way for people to put their car up on the sidewalk. We don't enforce it. And it's the little things. It's the little things that lead to the big things. Lowell can become a community where people will know. A youngster comes from the University of Lowell, passes a false ID, the bartender takes it, they call the university and they drive him back home. Gee, I wonder if he'd do it again. I wonder if he'd do it again. Of course he's going to do it again. What the heck does he care? He got a free ride home. But the bar owner, fortunately caught him. So I'm trying to say to you, when you look at all these things in perspective, I often quote people and say, when Rudy Giuliani became the mayor of the city of New York, they were looking at a garbage strike. They were looking at a police strike. The guy had all kinds of problems. Somebody said to him after he got elected mayor, they said, Mr. Mayor, what are you going to do? He said, I'm going after the window washers. Look this up, it's the truth. They said, what? He said, I'm going after the window washers. The window washers? Who the hell's the window washers? He says, you pull up to a stoplight and a guy comes out with a squirt bottle, sprays, and he wants some money. He's scaring off the tourists. He's running the people. People are afraid to go out and afraid to go. And you know what? He said, you take care of them, everything else will fall in line. Because it sends a message. It sends a message that we're not just going to slap you on the wrist. If we can't find you, we can take you down to the police department, keep you till 3 o'clock in the morning, pick up the phone and call your parents. Say, come on down here, get Junior. He passed a false ID. It's only going to happen a couple of times. Pretty soon, Junior's going to need an electric wheelchair. That's going to solve your problem. But as long as we hold everybody's hand and we say, oh, what can we do? It's the bar owner's fault. It's always somebody else's fault. It always is. I say that to people all the time when they come in for a one-day license. Be careful what you do. Because guaranteed, if they go into a restaurant and the parent buys them a drink and they fall and they whack their head, guess what? That restaurant's going to get sued because the parent's never going to stand up and say, you know what, I did it. I bought him that drink and I shouldn't have. He wasn't old enough. So that's my reason for being here tonight. I want you to stop and think. Okay, a little while ago you did this gun control for 10 guns. Who do you think's going to register? The people that are honest that have the 10 guns. Nobody else is going to register. Use your head. But if you made the penalty severe enough, and it doesn't have, if you can't make it monetary, make it physical. Make it physical. Bring them down and lock them in a cell and leave. I asked Captain Webb. He had a young lady that got arrested for passing a false ID. No, she had been drinking. And they called the parents. And I said to Captain Webb, did you ever think to say to the parents, look, Sally's here. We caught her drinking. She's been drinking down in one of the bar rooms in Lowell. You can leave her here if you want. Leave her locked up for a night. That'll wake her up. That'll make her think twice. That won't be any video game or iPad or any of that nonsense. That'll start making an impression. People will talk. They will go back just as they do to the university and they'll say, you can go up to Sam Smith's package store. Now, if that short, bald-headed guy is working, he wears glasses, this is what you got to do. And he won't check your ID. And we see it all the time. The youngsters have a way of communicating this. The police can't be there everywhere. The police can't be they're not going to protect me from them. They're going to come after I get shot, but they're not going to be there to stop them. But if we became a community that enforced laws and that came up with creative ways of punishing people, just think for 1 second if you had You go down the street and people say, oh, I got no place to park my car. They got a driveway that's 8 cars long. There's 1 car in the driveway, the rest of them are all on the street. So now the plow goes down the street, and everybody says, oh, wow, what a crappy job the city did plowing my street. They never... That's all I'm saying. It comes down to simple enforcement of simple steps instead of become overwhelmed with sensational
Thank you, Mr.
items.
Bayless, and I
Thank
think
you.
you gave us a strong message. Before I recognize the chief, anyone who comes to the podium must keep the subject matter germane to what we have before us, the police report, strictly the police report. And there's copies of that police report if anyone wants to look at it. There's 17 pubs and liquor establishments on this report, 17. And there's 4 liquor establishments that are more or less have a spotlight on them. There were many wonderful pubs in the city where people can go in, sit down, have a cocktail, have a drink, have a sandwich, and we never, ever have a bad report about them. So the purpose of this meeting is to bring this report forward, and as a community, as Walter Bayless indicated, as a License Commission, how are we going to address this issue? Yes, downtown, 1988, when I went on to the city council, downtown was a business district. But that's no longer a business district. It's a neighborhood where people live, people pay taxes, people have work to do in the morning and so forth. And if there is just one liquor establishment that is not adhering to the law or the rules and regulations, and they're in a violation, and they're treading on the peace of tranquility of people who are trying to get a good night's sleep, or whatever it might be, then we have to address that issue. And I think this is what the police department has done. They brought this report forward, and with no further ado, Chief LaValle, if you can expound on this report and bring out some issues that you would like to discuss. Is your mic on, Chief?
Sorry. Oh, there we go. Okay, I apologize. First of all, let me say that I appreciate the opportunity to come here tonight and speak to you about these concerns. And I did indeed have the opportunity to address the License Commission 2 weeks ago and present this report. I've since updated the report and have included a number of establishments in downtown. There had been a focus on 4 establishments with the first report. This second report now adds to the number of establishments and the number of incidents they've had, a comparison to 2010 to 2011. The report truly speaks for itself. There is no need for me to get into every incident that is listed here in the report. And it cannot be argued that we have seen a significant increase in the disorder in downtown Lowell, late at night in particular, in that 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock time range when the establishments are being, people are leaving those establishments. I respectfully disagree with Mr. Bayless's contention that these incidents have escalated due to a police officer being on the detail. Based on everything I've seen and the reports that I've read and the information I have, it appears that intoxication and over-serving is the major cause for the increase in these incidents in the downtown area. And there are many establishments that hire police details that are listed here that are at the bottom of this list and have had very few incidents. So you can't necessarily attribute the police detail to an escalation of violence. If anything, you would think that a police detail on the premises would dissuade people from acting in an inappropriate manner. And it appears that because, particularly when people are drunk, have had too much to drink, the uniform, the badge, is irrelevant. They could care less that a police officer is there and is trying to deal with the situation. On Friday night, I once again went into downtown and made some observations, and there was a large presence of people in downtown. I did visit a couple of the establishments, and I visited the OUI roadblock, or the sobriety checkpoint, that the Lowell Police and the State Police ran on Friday night. I will tell you that there is a large number of automobiles, especially while I was there, that were being stopped entering the city. The checkpoint works in both directions. It works for those entering Lowell and those leaving Lowell. And we do know that a number of people who live in the communities around Lowell or visit those establishments that close at 1 o'clock or earlier do try to get into Lowell for the last call. As a matter of fact, one individual coming from Billerica was arrested at the sobriety checkpoint when he fishtailed into what they call the pit, and then nearly struck 2 state troopers and fled towards Billerica when he was finally apprehended. I will tell you that the issue here is not cars parking on the sidewalk. The issue is not window washers or those concerns. The issue here is how do we work with the establishments? And truly, that's all I want to do. I want to work with them. I want to collaborate with them. I will tell you that they have been very amenable to suggestions, and I'm hoping that even though I am proposing rolling back the hours to 1 o'clock, and Mr. Bayless's contention that only the License Commission has the authority to do that is correct. The License Commission makes that determination. However, if that is not possible, I would love to be able to see the establishments in the city, particularly in downtown, collaborate, coordinate on the suggestions that I've made that you have in front of you, the requirements that include, and this is the most important one, closing the doors at 1 o'clock in the morning. If we close the doors at 1 o'clock in the morning and just prevent more people from coming in and just leave the people who are in the bars, that would, I think, have a major impact on preventing some of the concerns and the violence we have. That would allow people to, leave slower. There'd be less problems on the street. Stop serving the alcoholic beverages at 1:30. I would also suggest that some of the establishments have set up satellite serving locations, and I noticed that in some places you go in and they have buckets of beer and other alcoholic beverages available, not at the bar area. That might be, we might want to restrict that. And obviously the concerns about ID, overcrowding, over-serving, all those things are very, very important. And I think that we certainly appreciate and do not penalize any establishment that calls the police. We certainly would expect them to do that, and we hope that they do notify the police when an issue concerns, and I want to be able to see if these establishments would be amenable to these suggestions and recommendations. I also will say that on the initial report you received on page 6, it highlights the number of incidents that are occurring in downtown at locations that we cannot attribute to a particular bar. If you go to page 6 on the first report, not the one I handed out today, but the one you received before this meeting, you'll see that assaults, there were 53 incidents resulting in 32 arrests in places in downtown Lowell, like John and Page Street, Market and Central, 35 Market Street, Merrimack Street, so forth and so on, Middle and Palmer, John and Lee, places that have been where intoxicated individuals have been fighting, stopping traffic, officers have been assaulted, and that's a major concern as well. Our officers are often put in harm's way because of the intoxication level of some of these individuals. And it's a financial matter because, quite honestly, I issued a report to the License Commission 2 weeks ago, and up to that point, the police department had spent $42,000 in overtime expenditures to put extra patrols in downtown Lowell during the closing times of these establishments. So that certainly is impacting my budget. So, and I don't want to belabor the point. I think we all understand the concern. I think that we see a definite influx of people into the city for the 2 o'clock closing hour, those places that close at 1. They make the beeline into the city. When I was at the sobriety checkpoint on Friday night, I can tell you the traffic entering the city at 12:30 and 1 o'clock was much greater than the traffic leaving the city. And of course, I would anticipate that it would have picked up at 2 o'clock and 2:30 when people were leaving. You know, I really truly think that there are potential answers to these problems if we work together collaboratively. I will tell you that the people who live downtown, work downtown, and own establishments, we've met on a regular basis. We've come to City Hall and met in the mayor's reception room on a quarterly basis. and talked about these issues and concerns, and for quite some time, things were going well. But this year, from January 1 of this year to this point, it's been a marked increase in disorder. And that's why I'm here today, and, I'm looking for your assistance in this matter, and I'm looking for some guidance on how to proceed, and I think it's my duty to report these issues to you.
Thank you, Chief. Before I have my colleagues address this issue with you, the pubs, what time do they close now in Lowell?
Well, the 2 o'clock is the established closing hour.
2 o'clock.
Yeah, but you could
And-
close, you have the discretion to close earlier. Some probably do, but you can stay open as late as 2
You
o'clock in the morning.
indicated maybe to close the doors at 1, and I'll just keep that in the back of the memory bank. But I just want to point out, in this report, there were 6 establishments whose frequent changes went down, and there's 3 that have outstanding frequent changes. So when you say we're going to close everyone at 1, some people are going to pay a high price for others who aren't abiding by the
But
law.
again, I don't want to say we want to close the establishment at 1. If we could avoid that, I would close the doors at 1.
Right.
Those people who are in the establishment at 1 o'clock would remain. We just wouldn't let any more people enter. That would be the idea. That's the plan. In other words, if we prevent people from, if every bar would agree that at 1 o'clock, no more people will enter the establishment, and those who are there can stay, and if they leave, then we're making some progress.
Could you convey that to the detail police officer, that no one gets in that establishment after 1?
That wouldn't be a police officer's discretion. That would be up to the owner of the establishment.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Counselor Elliott? Oh, what? No, I'm going to let you guys speak first, and we'll have the residents come on.
Chief, can you tell me those communities that do not close at 1 o'clock, or that do close at 1 o'clock in the surrounding areas? You mentioned presumably.
There is no community contiguous to Lowell that closes at 2. Every community around Lowell closes at 1, or some, I think, even at midnight.
At midnight.
Yeah.
New Hampshire, same thing?
I'm not sure about New Hampshire, to be quite honest with you, sir.
Okay. That's all the questions I have right now.
You ready to say? Okay. Okay, we've always have an open policy at that podium. Everyone's entitled to speak. The only thing I ask is that your subject matter is germane to the subject matter, the police report. So we'll open up the meeting to people who would like to speak pertaining to this issue, the Lowell Police Report. Just give us your name and address, please.
Kathleen Marson, 200 Market Street. I'm the president of the Downtown Neighborhood Association, and we all have to be somewhere at 6:30. So I'll give you the Reader's Digest version of my thoughts here. I wish Mr. Bayless had stayed. The chief is really doing the right thing. He's seen a problem. He's bringing it to all the right people to say, this is an issue. Let's deal with it. Let's all get together, find a way to fix it. Mr. Bayless is 100% correct, though. It's absolutely the responsibility of the bar owner for anything that happens in their bar. So we have, I think, 18. I might not have counted one. Out of 18 bars that we have in the neighborhood, 3 of them, maybe 4 of them are a problem. And I'm really concerned. I understand. I kind of maybe even like the idea of closing the doors at 1 o'clock and keeping the people that you have. Maybe that's right. Pull up the drawbridge, great. But you really don't. So you have 18 bars. That means 14 of them doing everything right. They're managing well. They don't have any problems. People come and go. So I really think the License Commission is absolutely the place where this belongs. I think that the owners of establishments that are having issues are obviously not being managed as well as the 14 that aren't having any problems. So I do think that they are the people to address this. So I don't know how they are allowed to just dismiss it and try to put it on the police department. Police department shouldn't be managing bars. We've spent $42,000 so far this year managing bars. The bars should be paying the city back all of that money. It's their job to manage their business well, and not the rest of us. And this has nothing to do with the fact that, people happen to live downtown. This is a safety issue. This isn't a peace and quiet issue at all. It's a safety issue. And I'll just mention this really quickly because you all signed on to lights on, crime off. It is so dark. That corner of John and Page Street has one of the darkest empty parking lots in the entire downtown, and that's where a majority of the problems occur. So, can we turn some lights on, please? There's all kinds of fixtures and none of them are on. That's all I have to say, but I would like to say thank you very much to the chief because I really think he's looking out for the welfare of all of us.
Thank you. Next, just give us your name and address, please, and it must be germane to this subject matter.
My name's Cynthia Kangoulis, and I live at Mass Mills, 100 Mass Mills, in Lowell, Mass. I came here for the safety reason. I was told that it was safety in downtown Lowell. On Saturday night at 8 o'clock, as I was leaving downtown, walking to my home, I cut through Kerouac Park. There are 30 kids that have now taken over that park. I was assaulted, beaten, and robbed. And I was arrested. So I've talked to police. I called the police, and they said that the city council has said that they cannot dismantle those young adults from the park. And that's from the city council. I was going to speak on Tuesday, but they said I could have a few minutes tonight. And the next day, I went back, there was 20 more harassing me. Now my daughter, who lives at the other 200 Mass Mills, and my son-in-law. So these kids are out of control. As far as I've been managing nightclubs for over 30 years. I don't have a problem walking by hook slides. I have a problem walking by Kerouac Park. And as far as Mr. Bayless, I called him probably a year and a half ago and told him that I would become a tips instructor because I watched on TV. And that, I would come down and if people needed to be tip certified, I would do it. And he said, absolutely not. But I'm here because now I'm being harassed in downtown Lowell, where I live, by kids at Kerouac Park. So I don't know how germane this is to this session, but it was supposed to be on safety in Lowell, in downtown.
Okay, after the meeting, I'd like to speak with you, and I'm going to speak to the chief as well, and we'll see if we can come up with a solution to your problem.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thank you. Anyone else like to? Yes, and if you're representing a pub or a bar room, please let us know that.
Yeah, hi, my name is
So
Craig.
you have to speak right into that microphone, please.
Yeah, my name is Craig Himmelberger. I reside at 200 Market Street. I'm a downtown resident. I've attended the neighborhood meetings and have appreciated the work that has gone in from the police department in assembling these statistics. There are a couple of things that I want to make sure do not get lost in analyzing the statistics, and I want to reward the bar owners that are engaging the drunks at their door rather than inside their establishment. One of my concerns is that there are bars that are cited as responsible for a particular incident where a drunken disorderly person was arrested by the detail cop at their door. I consider this responsible bar ownership, and I would applaud those establishments for all of the incidents that are added to this list because they are doing that. My one concern is, and I respect Kathleen's comments, that the License Commission does need to take this seriously. In these statistics, there are situations where there have been underage patrons caught repeatedly in the bar with false identification. That the License Commission has not taken action on those incidents, and I look at that as a serious issue. My law enforcement personnel are correctly going into the bars, doing their sweeps, making those checks, and then there is no consequence to the bar owner for having underage patrons, for example, in their establishment. So my recommendation would be to look at the statistics carefully, do not lump in the incidents that are proper door management policy and attach that to the bar's responsibility, because I feel like some of the establishments among the 4 that are so notorious have actually, a majority of those incidents are taking place outside their establishment, not in, by people who are drunk that were not served inside their establishment. I would also point out that there are some establishments that have been cited as one of the 14 good ones. For example, there's an establishment on Middlesex Street. I'm close to a resident of the Marston Building on Middlesex, which is directly across the street. I am personally aware of police officers having to remove intoxicated persons from the doorway of the building. She couldn't even get into her building when she got home at work. There have been incidents with off-duty police officers assaulted in that establishment. When I look at these crime statistics, I do not see anything attributed to that bar. And I have a concern that we have the License Commission take action when these incidents occur, and that we work with the police department to identify who the real problem establishments are, because I'm not necessarily convinced the numbers that you have associated with the particular establishments in this particular report necessarily reflect all the responsibility downtown.
Okay, it's Greg Hamilberg, what's his name? Okay, thank you. We have many people in the council chambers, and we want to hear from you. Just come right up to that podium, give us your name and address. Don't be bashful, come on.
My name's Mark Girolamo.
What?
Mark Girolamo. And I
Mark
purchased...
Geronimo?
Girolamo. It's Italian, not Indian. I bought the Dubliner about a year ago, and I've been to all of the chief's meetings, and I think they're great meetings. One of the things that we had talked about at those meetings, and when I look at this report, is that I think that you need to differentiate between certain types of incidents. For example, there's a whole bunch of incidents
Mark,
on
are
here.
you representing a business?
I own the Dubliner.
The Dubliner,
Yeah.
okay. All right.
There's a bunch of incidences on here, as I look through it, that are people complaining about loud music or noise. Police come, they're summoned, the music is turned down, and the incident goes away. I think that those kinds of incidences need to be segregated from the more serious incidences of fighting in the bar or underage drinking. They're just not the same, in my opinion. When you look at a lot of these things, some of the incidences, as the gentleman just spoke about, become an incident because the bar owner is being responsible and not allowing a patron to come into the bar. Okay, so now he's doing his job, he's not allowing them in, but that incident carries the same amount of weight as an incident where there's a fight or an underage person being served in the bar. And I just think that they need to be separated. Some of them are with safety, but some of them are that the bar owner is taking the responsibility seriously for preventing a fight in the bar. I mean, if you really think about it, if you're going to get an incident, and don't take this the wrong way, but I mean, if you're going to get an incident for not allowing someone into the bar because they might get in a fight, you might as well let them in. I mean, maybe they won't get in a fight, and you won't have the incident. So I just think that there needs to be a separation between different kinds of incidences that are more serious than others.
Thank you, Mark. Before I ask someone else to come to the podium, the picture that's being painted for me, I think, for the subcommittee, is you have liquor establishments in the city that are open to 2 p.m. And in suburbia, those people who said, sorry, that lost drink, they know, let's go to Lowell. And the people who are causing the problems don't even live here. And the bartender or the owner of that establishment is almost a double-edged sword. They get in the door, and many times they're intoxicated when they get in the door. And I think that's the issue. You have to address that issue. And the person at the door has to know, you're not getting in here because you're intoxicated or we're concerned about your behavior. So I think that's what I'm seeing. I think that's what the chief is seeing. I think that's what the license commission is seeing. So, who else would like to speak? And please, I'd like to have everyone that's in this council chamber speak, because you wouldn't be here if you weren't concerned.
Hi, I'm Frank Toms. I'm a member of the Lowell Downtown Neighborhood Association, lived here for 8 years, and I want to say thank you to the chief for his attentiveness to the downtown residency business issue. I think a city is a stronger place when the residents and businesses work together to make it a vibrant city. I think that the chief's suggestion to close the doors of the bars at 1 o'clock to outsiders is a very important idea, because that's probably hitting the safety issue right on the head. If people are coming to Lowell because they can get an extra drink or two, they're already driving in a car with that thought in their head, and more likely than not, somewhat intoxicated. So by the time they arrive in the bar, they add to the issue for the bar owner, a double-edged sword, as was said earlier. And I think this is one way to reduce the anonymity of people in the city by having having people not come in from outside the city who think that they are away from home, and therefore they're free to act out and be foolish and do stuff that they might not do, particularly in their own front yard. So I think the idea of closing the bar doors at 1, allowing the patrons who are there to stay until closing time, whenever the bar decides, is probably one of the wisest ideas that I've heard in a long time, having been here. And I have a feeling that things will quiet down considerably if that happens, and we'll all have a better place to live, and the kids who are coming in from the outside will not be endangering themselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
I'm Paul Marion. I live at 44 Highland Street. I'm also the Executive Director of Community Affairs at UMass Lowell. I'm here this evening to listen to the conversation, also to express the university's thanks to Superintendent LaValle for bringing forth this report. We take it very seriously, and we just want to let city councilors, mayor, everyone know that the university will be supportive of decisions that are made that are in the interest of the citizens of the community and that are going to make downtown a safer place. We have a huge stake in downtown right now. I know, some of our students are listed on some of these reports, and I talked to the dean of students just before I came here, and he said every incident that came our way was dealt with on campus with our judicial process, and we take this the behavior of the students in the city very seriously. But I do want to just pick up the license commission's member's comment. He referenced the university a couple times as examples, and I don't want to leave the impression that the university is the sort of the major offender here. I want to set the record straight. We have 13,000 students, and the dean of students told me that in the past year there were maybe 10 serious incidents, all handled by the police and with our campus authorities. So we're doing our best to make sure that downtown is a peaceful and tranquil place, and that we're contributing in a positive way.
Thank you, Paul. Anyone else would like to come to the podium?
My name is Dane Lamb. I live at 30 Market Street. I really would like to thank everyone for raising and addressing this issue. I wanted to speak to one small piece of Mr. Bayless's point, which is that Lowell is a city in transition from being primarily an industrial to a mixed-use area, particularly downtown. And I thought that perhaps cities that had gone through this transition could offer best practices and a role model for us to look at as we learn how to balance the mixed objectives of a mixed-use area. I'm an urban resident, have been all my life, have to tell you I adore cities, and I only will live downtowns, and I understand they have all sorts of opportunities and problems. But my suggestion might be you might look at a town like Somerville, which was a university town in transition with an enormous bar problem in the 50s, 60s, and 70s and has transitioned. You might look at a place like Boston's Combat Zone, which has completely turned around from being a draw to its bars to a robust residential university dining and other draw. And lastly, my last home, Beacon Hill in Boston, which when I moved there was much more decrepit and run down than Senator Kerry's new home location. And also, when I left Beacon Hill, the last 10 years of my tenure there, I had lived on Charles Street, which was the most commercial street of Beacon Hill, and had a number of bars and restaurants, and that we too, as residents, wrestled with how to balance these objectives so that the enterprise owners, the residents, and the city could benefit from the robust change that this kind of initial friction often signals for a city in transition. So I'm speaking in support of the actions of the police department to highlight and give us statistics, however much you can argue about the detail of them, the residents who want to both live here and support the bar owners, and the future of the city, which benefits, I hope, from my residency, as well as the best example, whether it's Centro or the Dubliner or the improved Blue Shamrock. So I'm merely saying to Mr. Bayless, we are a mixed-use city. There is a way to address it where we all succeed. Thank you.
Thank you. The gentleman wants to speak.
My name is Brian McInerney. I'm the owner of Hooks Like Kelly's.
What's the establishment?
Hooks Like Kelly's.
Okay. Good to see you here.
Good to see you as well. The reason I had spoken a couple weeks ago at the License Commission meeting in regards to the incidences that are here, and that discussion was 2 weeks ago, and today's a different discussion, but a few things that I'd like to mention regarding the report, importantly, there are not dates nor are there times on these incidents. So if you look through the report, you won't see a date or a time when things happened or the dates of which they happened. On the university side, we are considered a college bar, and there's a lot of college kids that come to Hooks Like Kelly's. From March 1st to June 30th, there was 4 incidents. And that's the end of the semester, and the kids are having a blast. And so from March 1st to June 30th, there was 4 incidents. It was suggested by the police department that I hire a second detail on July 1st at the beginning of the summertime because of Hooks Like Kelly's patio, which increases our capacity. At that time, I did so we brought another detail officer, and my incidents from July 1st to July 28th went from 3 in a 3-month period to 11 in a 28-day period. So there is a direct correlation with having extra police presence on site with the amount of incidents that are being documented by the police department. That is happening, and reason being is that we are at the bar being very conscious of making sure people aren't coming in, false identification, and making sure that people with unruly behavior are dealt with appropriately and by the law. You can't have security people dragging people outside. It doesn't mean they're drunk. It doesn't mean they're anything but unruly. We have many people that come in who are just simply aggressive people, and they see a boyfriend or a girlfriend and they just go at it. That could be at 10 o'clock, and that's not documented here on when these incidents are happening. It's not all happening between 1 and 2. I don't disagree with the police department in a way of us working all together, and we are. Most of us in downtown have extended our hands to Captain Sullivan to get suggestions on some of the things that we should be doing to help improve the downtown. I've spoken with the chief on a few occasions. We've had a couple conversations as well. But I certainly don't want the city to find the 4, spotlight at the top as individuals that do not care, that we're here just to cause a problem and be unruly. It's certainly not the case, and we want to work with the city for sure. But one thing that shouldn't be penalized are some of the establishments that 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock time frame is important to maintaining a profitable business. There are some bars that won't, at 1 o'clock it won't affect them, but others it will. And just in all fairness, it should be on an individual level, I believe. And I'm at the top of the list, so I have to take my responsibility, but I believe I'm stepping up to the plate with the License Commission, with the police department, to make sure these incidences, although they're 17, are not violent crimes. They're not injured people. I don't have people being thrown out into the middle of Merrimack Street in brawls. They're preemptive measures to make sure that if you're going to be a problem, the police department's going to arrest you, and we're going to set the example. Because we do have anywhere from 350 to 400 patrons inside in an evening, and we can roughly see 14 to 1,500 visits on a weekend. It's a lot of patrons that we're servicing, and it's a younger demographic. So we're going to continue to make sure that we hire the police, and we're going to use the police, but we certainly don't want to be condemned for being preemptive in our establishment.
Thank you. I appreciate you being here. And give us your name one more time, slow.
Brian McInerney.
Okay, Brian, I'm going to ask you a question. What's your opinion of having a sign on your door, Monday through Sunday, that these doors will be closed at 1 p.m.?
What I can tell you is that as of now, I close my doors at 12:45, and I don't want to be seen as the little person trying to be an angel in the city, because fortunately right now the bar is successful, but to say 3 years from now that the bar won't be successful and that bottom line number would be important, because I certainly believe that there are bars where there's 20 people inside and they're not unruly, but that number is very important to the individual. And for example, the business loan that I have is with the city of Lowell, so we need to collaborate to make sure that loan's paid and successful. So I think on an individual basis, it's important that we talk to each person on an individual basis. As of now, my bar closes at 12:45. There is no entry, and my detail officers can document and attest to that.
What I think we're trying to convey here is, and it's been brought out, the subcommittee has brought it out, that how do we get the message to those people in the suburban towns, let's go into Lowell and get one more for the road. If they already know Kelly's Hookside Pub is going to close at 12:45, they're not going to come, are they?
No, they won't.
Well,
They're
what I'm saying is...
They just may come a little earlier.
Do you have any notification or a way of communicating with your patrons, say, we close at 12:45?
All I can say is this: the consistency that we have from our clientele, because of the residual business that we have.
But if we had a sign up on the door...
Sure.
They would know, wouldn't they?
I agree. They would know.
Would you be willing to do something like that?
Yes. What I'm saying, me as an individual basis, what I don't want to do is condemn the other business owners that are in downtown and speak for them. At this time right now, I'd be cooperative, and I've told the police chief, I'll openly put it on my Facebook or website. The doors close at 1 o'clock at the business at this point. Right now, and that's what we do because we are a busy facility. But going forward into the future, we may not be busy anymore, and it may come to a point where people don't go out at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock in the city of Lowell. It's just unfortunate, it's not the demographic or the culture of the city. So I'm thinking that there are other places that need it, and I guess what I'm trying to say is, in my spotlight, where I am in one at the top of the charts, I think working with the police department on a one-on-one basis is very significant, and I think that those lines have just crossed in the matter of just in the last few weeks. We've had downtown meetings, but we've not had one-on-ones with the captain of downtown or the chief of police, where we're sitting in closed doors to say, what are you guys going to do about controlling your places better? And at least we could discuss some of the incidences and come up with some collaborative policies between us to come to some agreement without having to make a quick judgment and a simple solution, because I simply don't believe that a rolling is really going to change a lot of this documented information, considering the fact that it's not between 1 and 2. It's from 11 to 2. It's at 4 o'clock in the morning. There's incidences on here that there's people found on the streets at 3:30 in the morning, and that's just, it's not pinpointing the situation. I'm not saying it's not the issue, but I think it just needs to be explored a lot further before there's a collective decision made to just shut people's doors at 1 o'clock.
Brian, do you have a detail officer at your establishment?
I have a detail officer, 1 on Thursday, and I have 2 on Friday and 2 on Saturday.
So they know that you close 12:45, no one gets in there after 12:45?
And they're excellent about it. They save us, because people at that time typically drinking, and then the doors are shut, and we say, guys, we're done for the night, and they give a slip. Detail officer says, guys, let's go, and it's extremely helpful for me. And that's why I continue to have the 2 detail officers, even though I know that it increases my report on here, for sure. It's without a doubt, those are not just random statistics.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else like to?
How you doing? Kevin Hayhurst, owner of Brian's Ivy Hall. I'm going to have to sit here and say that Brian at Hookside does close his doors at 1 o'clock and locks everybody out. We close ours at 1:30. And if you see, I don't think that's...
I didn't hear you.
Hookside Kelly's does lock their doors at 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
We stop out people coming in at 1:30.
1:30.
Yep. And
Would you consider stopping them at 1?
if that was the case, I would. But I mean, if I look at these stats right here and see where the difference in incidences, where Hookside has 17, we have 11, and we've always both been consistent. I don't really think that 1 o'clock has an impact at all. I don't like he's saying his incidents.
Let me paint a picture for you. I'm going to be very blunt.
Mm-hmm.
If everyone that owns a liquor establishment closes their doors at 5 minutes of 1, and everyone knows you don't, where do you think they're going to go?
To my place.
To your place.
Absolutely.
Right.
We have different, he has a pub atmosphere where I have more of a club atmosphere. At 4 or 5 in the afternoon, he has people in his establishment. We have people in our establishment at 10 o'clock at night. That's when they start coming in. It's just a complete, like he's saying, individual bars should have individual incidents. I mean, if you look at our incidences, some of them are on Page Street, which we don't even come close to Page Street, John Street, and then there's an incident on here where we caught a counterfeit bill for a $100 bill. I don't see why those kind of things would go against us and even be in this report. Like the other gentleman said, why would you take these incidences where the club is doing a good job in managing and reporting these incidents, and then you're holding it against them at the same time? So if these incidences that are being held against us, it doesn't make sense. I mean, if that's the case, I mean, it's almost easier for us not to hire a detail. We hire a detail every single night. Every hour we're open, I have a police officer on the property. And if they're not even available, because some are on vacation, we have officers that get off duty at midnight and come fill the detail for the hour and a half, whatever it is, and we pay them a full rate just to make sure we have ourselves covered. It's almost easier for us not to even get a detail and just sweep the stuff under the rug, because I'd be at the bottom of this list under Garcia Brogan's, that I think their incidences are actually probably a little higher than that, but I don't have the stats or I don't have the capabilities of getting a hold of them. But from my perspective, these stuff that's being held against us, I think is wrong. I think they're kind of inflated numbers. And like I said, to have our numbers on here as a counterfeit bill to be listed on here, I mean, I think we're doing the city a justice by, we've actually caught a couple people, we get hit to counterfeit money all the time. I mean, to have an incident written under here going against us, I mean, I don't think it's appropriate. Like I said, in the hour rollback thing, I mean, if you see the different incidents, these guys could all close at 1, I'm not sure. I had 3 last year, and I've always had my doors open till 1:30. I think there's a lot more ways we can look at doing this besides the hour changes. I think collaborate with different people. If Hookside Kelly's wants to let theirs out at a certain time, we can let ours out at a certain time so everybody's not meeting up in the street, meeting at John Street. Like Kathleen was saying, if we can get more lighting on John Street, it would probably help a lot too.
I just have one question for you.
Yep.
How long has Brian's Ivy Hall been open? It was closed for a long period of time, wasn't it?
Right.
When did your manager?
Probably about 14 months.
14 months?
Yeah.
2010?
Yes,
In 2010, there were 3 incidents there.
correct.
In 2011 was 11.
Right.
So it's not going down, it's escalating.
No, it's definitely not going down.
And I'm reading some of these reports where someone was running up and down the street yelling and screaming, where's the next bar, we're going to get the next drink. 8 police officers were called there for the disturbance.
I agree. And if it's on Merrimack Street, I mean, it's not like it wasn't in our, I don't know where they came from. Like I said, I don't know where these incidents took place. I don't know nothing about them. I know what happens inside our establishment. There's no assaults inside our establishment. I have bouncers that are well-trained that break up fights before they even happen. Any kind of incidents, I think my room's very easy to control. It's a big square box. It's very easy. You got someone in every corner with the detail officer. Our fights don't really escalate. There's no really arguments. Anything gets out of control, it's taken care of immediately. So, I mean, I think all this stuff needs to be handled individually. We've all met. I've met with Captain Sullivan. We sat down. We had a meeting at 2 in the afternoon earlier in the week. And like I said, if you guys told me to close my doors at 1, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to go against the grain. But I'm just saying each establishment does not have the same. Like, I don't have that pub crowd at 4 in the afternoon. I don't have a lunch crowd. I have a DJ that comes in at night, and my crowd comes in at 10, 11 o'clock at night. So it's a completely different crowd. And we don't have a lot of over-serving, which I think people might assume. My crowd comes in to dance. They come and we have a bigger dance floor than anything. They come in there, they sweat more than they do anything. You know, so I think the stuff that is brought into where the over-serving, I really don't think it's correct. I think that if people can navigate those 3 flights of stairs, my bouncers are really good at what they do. I've never had anyone caught in there underage. As much we had stings in there, the ABC has come straight to my face and said, Kevin, you have an A+ again. They've caught everybody in our establishment. Never once have caught anybody in there underage. So, I mean, and I know everything here is saying there's underage drinking, there's college kids, there's nothing. I think I'm kind of being lumped in here where a situation that I don't really think I have that many problems, considering I can do 700 people a night, 2,100 people a weekend, and I have 11 incidents, and that's over 14 incidents, say, over 14 months. You know, and I have that many people come through there, and like I said, to have the incidents chalked against us like a counterfeit bill, I think it's kind of like, I know a few of their incidences were not letting patrons in that were too drunk. I mean, how can you list that in here and come in here and say these are against us when we're doing what we're supposed to be doing? I manage my bar very well, I think. I'm very hands-on. I'm down there all the time. I'm there all day and night, even though we don't open till 10 o'clock at night. You know, I do my best to run my business. You know, I'm here. You can ask Mr. LaValle. We attend every meeting. I go everywhere I'm supposed to go, and I'll offer any suggestion. I'll help out whatever it is to make my bar a safer place, whatever I can do. We'll gladly assist the details. You know, I love having my details there. I think they're the best thing.
Okay.
But like I said, I think these numbers could be looked at in a different way, that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here from the Village Smokehouse? I guess not. Anyone else would like to speak and voice your opinion? Anyone? You still have time to speak anyways, but I'd like to have my colleagues now address the people. And we want to thank everyone for your attendance this evening. It's a rainy evening, and there is a candidates' night. Council Elliott is here, and Council Rita Mercy is over at the Senior Center, and they, running for re-election. They should be at their candidates' night, but they're here, and that's part of their job. So, Council Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do appreciate the bar owners coming down and speaking up and giving your point of view, as well as the people downtown. And it is a little bit more than just a noise problem. We've had noise problems, and it's not. This is a long-standing problem. It's not the first time with even new owners downtown. I can remember this issue coming up probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and we had discussions at the city council meeting. Chief, you and I spoke then, where the issue was raised about the closing times back then, and I think it's a problem, and it's probably, and I can understand the frustration of the pub owners and the bar owners. You're hiring police officers, you're running good establishments inside, you're taking the appropriate actions. And clearly the problem, and it is a problem, not just from this report, but I think there's a general concern throughout the community that the behavior and the atmosphere downtown is not what it should be. So what do? The problem, again, is not inside the establishments. It's outside. It's what's taking place outside. And if you do read the report, I was a bit alarmed with the number of assaults that have taken place, the number of individuals that are traveling in groups. I think this young lady attested to that. So what do? Can we work on an individual basis? I think that's what the chief has done. I think he has reached out and with some success, maybe limited success. And if you're closing the doors at 1, and I understand it's an economic vitality issue. But we're trying to strike the balance of, we don't want to lose the downtown. We lose the downtown, that clearly is not a good signal to outside investors, to people in the community, people in the neighborhoods. So how do we strike the balance between economic vitality, if you will, and public safety? And it's a challenge. And I've been down there on occasions. Not as much as I used to when I was younger, but knowing other communities are coming in, and it's well known. It's well known. That's why I asked you, New Hampshire, Chief, people coming from New Hampshire, to come into the city for last call, for the last drink. We don't want. I think we're here to work with you because we value and appreciate and need businesses downtown. And, how do we strike that balance? The chief has come to us with a plan. We do need a plan. And maybe it's a trial period. Maybe we look at the recommendations, and Chief, I would like to make a motion that you do come back with, you've given us a report, you've given us some recommendations that were sent to the city manager, that you come back to us with a report, with the plan, probably these recommendations before us on how to stem the violence, the assaults, and address public safety downtown. And I understand, enforcement is one issue. But when we're spending resources, not only in terms of overtime dollars, but when we're calling other units from the rest of the city, that should be a signal to us that the activity taking place downtown needs to be stemmed. And if we need to look at closing doors at 1, we're not saying shutting down, but at least it's a starting point to closing the doors. And if some bars are already doing it, let's see how it works. Let's see what the statistics brings. I don't think there'll be, but I guess my point is, when we're calling other units from the rest of the city, those units are unprotected. Those neighborhoods are unprotected. We have limited staff to begin with, especially during these fiscal times when there's a major altercation, and I can recall a number of them. The rest of the city is not protected, and that's a concern to me as a city councilor, that we need to send them downtown. We need to address the disorder downtown, but it becomes a city problem. So I guess lighting is something that we should be doing anyway, and it's unfortunate what's taking place is not in the pubs or in the bar rooms, but it's what's taking place outside, and we have to do something about it. And so I'd like to make that in the form of a motion, Mr. Chair, that we have the chief come back with a formal recommendation to the city council, and that we act on it, or that we discuss it and bring it to the full city council. I also.
Any discussion on the motion?
Yes, thank you. Again, I would like to thank you all for coming, both the residents and the bar owners. Being both a business owner in downtown and a resident, I understand both perspectives, and we are trying to strike a balance that is critical as we continue to grow economically and continue to invite more residents to come into the city. So thank you very much for coming. I agree with what you said, Councilor Elliott. I just would like to add, and I don't know if you mind if we can change your motion a little bit, but I would like to see Captain Sullivan meet with these 15 bar owners that have incidents in 2011 as part of that plan, so that we can all work collectively.
That's fine. You can amend the motion. Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense.
We have a motion on the table by Councilor Elliott. It was seconded by Councilor Dakota?
The amended motion, yes, I'll second that.
What's that?
I'll second the amended motion.
Yes. That the Chief LaValle come back with a recommendation on how to address this problem and a report, and to come up with a solution to the subcommittee and to the city council. That covers that?
I just had one other question, yep, to the solicitor. Now, there's been a lot of discussion about the licensing commission, and they have the authority and they only have the authority, which I understand. But while they may have the authority in regulating liquor establishments, I personally feel that we have the responsibility. The responsibility lies here with the city council to address public safety issues. So how does that work if the chief comes back with a recommendation that is supported, voted, and approved by the city council? And how does that work? I mean, essentially, can they just not abide by it?
It's a great question, and the licensing authority in Lowell rests with the License Commission. It has been delegated to them. Certainly, the chief can make recommendations. Arguably, these sorts of large-scale issues are issues that typically should come from the top, from the policy makers. And the law department, I know Elliot has already done some work on that issue, and it's something we can take a further look at and see what types of options would be available to the city council more specifically, in terms of addressing that type of issue and what happens when there is some sort of a disparate situation between what the city, the direction the city wants to go in, and a board that might be overseeing one of these regulations. So we'll take a look at that and prepare a full report for the council on what types of options would be available.
Okay. I just
Could
want
I
to say
just add to that, if you don't mind, Counselor? The state law allows the establishments to stay open until midnight. After midnight, it's local control. It's at the discretion of the local licensing authority. And it's my understanding that recently, as a result of incidents that have occurred in the city of Lawrence, the city council or several members of the council drew up a petition which they sent to the local license commission and requested that a rollback of hours take place. So it's my understanding, based on my reading of that particular issue, that the council's only authority was to make a recommendation to the license commission on the rollback of hours. Now I'm sure that needs further review by the law department, but that's the way I read it, and that's how it occurred there.
Madam Solicitor?
I was just going to say, again, that's a correct interpretation, and that's the same position that the city of Lowell would find itself in today. That again, that type of authority has been delegated off right now to our license commission. We can certainly take a look at what types of avenues may be available nonetheless for addressing this type of an issue, particularly given the importance of it.
Let's take a roll call on the motion presented by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Dakota. Mr. Clerk?
Councilor Chairman Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Dakota?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
yes.
3 yeas.
I was going to ask the solicitor for a legal opinion, and I think Councilor Elliott asked that question. And in my 24 years here in the City Council, this is the first time the Public Safety Subcommittee has met on an issue such as this. And I think what's happened is we are going to get that report, and we are going to send that report and a message back to the License Commission and the chief and so forth that things have to change for the better. And I try to stress that Hookside Kelly's, they close their doors at 12:45, and I appreciate that. No one gets in after 12:45, and everyone that goes there knows it. But we did have an establishment, no, I'm going to keep my doors open till 1:30. So it has to be across the board feeling that we're going to address this issue, and we don't want to hurt any business that's doing business downtown. But on the other side of the coin, we have to look at the residents who live downtown, their peace and tranquility, and the expense of the police department answering some of these calls. It was Sunday morning, the Lowell Folk Festival. Chief, how many police officers went to Middle Street at the disturbance outside the liquor establishments there?
Right, you're talking the Village Smokehouse.
Yes.
I don't have the exact number of officers, but there
every
was a
police
considerable
officer-
amount of officers that had to respond to the issues surrounding the disturbance that took place in front of that establishment. And as you know, Captain Kennedy took the lead in deciding to close down places in downtown early because it was just too many people and too many problems that could potentially occur. And to the credit of the people who are here tonight, Hooks Like Kelly's and Brian's Ivy Hall and other establishments in downtown, there was no disagreement. They understood and appreciated the concerns we had, and that did occur. So I'm hoping for that type of cooperation. Again, I just echo your comments, Counselor, that this is not to hurt anybody's economic situation. This is to make a better downtown for everybody involved, including the establishments, and that's what I strive for.
Definitely. Council
Yeah, I just want to follow up. I know it was mentioned earlier, we are not trying to condemn certain establishments. But for us to sit back and do nothing after we receive this information and not be proactive and not take actions to stem the violence downtown, we can't let it continue. It's not acceptable. So working together, and this is, I think it's a very good first step, that we do work together and bring the problem under control. And we don't have enough resources to continue, nor should the trend continue as to what's taking place downtown. So, again, individuals that are here, we appreciate it, and but we've got to do something. We've got to take some action, and hopefully the recommendations come forward will be positive and will have a good effect on both sides, on the people living downtown and the businesses. Council Caulfield mentioned, we're not trying to hurt you, but the violence is going to stop.
Yes.
Bobby Tubielli, 33 Middle Street. I think a word that kind of was said, a word that was said earlier today by Brian, I think was the word culture. And then Dane also had the word mixed use. I'm originally from New York, born and raised in Brooklyn, and I went to high school in Manhattan. I've been living in Lowell here, graduate from UMass Lowell, living downtown Lowell, working downtown Lowell. So I have an interesting perspective with seeing how things kind of operate here versus how things were back home. There are certain parts in Manhattan that if you honk your horn, you get fined $350, maybe $500. That's real. Now, enforceability is a totally different conversation altogether, but there are many neighborhoods in New York, and I'm sure maybe in Somerville, maybe in, I don't know, Newton, whatever the case may be, that there are certain actions that are met with certain penalties, whether it's fines, whether it's tickets, whatever the case may be. Those things exist. Now, it goes without saying that everybody in here sincerely cares about their neighborhood. I wish there were more people here because obviously it's not just affecting the individuals who are injured, like yourself, but it's affecting individuals who want to potentially raise kids here. It's affecting business owners who want to make money. I mean, let's just be real, it's about revenue. So obviously, whatever recommendations are made, we don't want to drive away potential business because if they go, that's not good for me as a homeowner. But I think a lot of things, and I want to applaud Chief LaValle, I want to applaud Captain Sullivan, I want to applaud Deputy Superintendent Ryan, because they've been really, to my vantage point, they've really been open to listening to ideas. It would be a different story if they just didn't want to listen. It would be a different story if they just took it upon themselves to do whatever they wanted to do, but that's not the case. How do we become more actionable without being reactive? We can scale things back to 1245, and that's a worthy experiment. We'll see what happens. I don't know if that's the answer. Going back to the point on the word culture, how do people view Lowell? How do people view downtown Lowell? Look, I work in downtown and I hear people who have been in Lowell all their lives, maybe live in Highlands, maybe live in Belvedere, whatever the case may be. They don't want to come downtown. That's a fact. A lot of these incidences that we're talking about are from individuals maybe who don't live in Lowell. How do they view Lowell? There are surveys going around Lowell right now of younger generation, individuals who plan on wanting to be here between the ages of maybe 25 to 34 to 40 years old. How do they view Lowell? And the consensus is we want to live here, but, and I don't want to use colorful language here, it's not really that positive. So a lot of things that we're talking about right now are we're looking at it, personally speaking, from a microscopic perspective. Looking at it macro, we have to change the culture. People really have to be able to see Lowell as a place where, yes, you can drink, you can go and get a cocktail, as you mentioned earlier, you can do whatever you want, but do it respectfully. And I think for the most part, every downtown resident wants these patrons internally or externally to do things respectfully. But folks are not going to do things respectfully if we don't have a respectable environment. My personal opinion. But what does that really mean? Go downtown Lowell. The streets need to be cleaner. The lights need to be lighter. People need to feel that, and obviously all these things that I'm talking about are part of the downtown evolution plan. We're talking about these things not just now, but for the next 10 years. But we can't really talk about $800 million in redevelopment if people are scared to come downtown, or people want to move and sell their unit to move elsewhere. That's not a good return on that investment. So I can go on forever. I think this is a very pertinent issue, but I think the main point is really changing the culture, because it's not a standalone issue talking about public safety. It's part of a larger issue. Thank you.
I'd like to say one more thing before we kind of close, because I, Mark Girolamo again from the Dubliner. You guys seem to have latched on to this, well, Hookslide Kelly's closes at 12:45 and so on and so forth. I just want to throw this out to you that you've got to be a little bit cautionable about that. Hookslide Kelly's is the place to be right now downtown Lowell. They close their doors at 12:45 and they got 50 people in line. I mean, they can do no more business. Okay, and a lot of the other businesses, mine included, okay, I grab revenue, okay, right now off of the overflow, okay, from those places. And these aren't people that came here at 1 o'clock. These are people that have been in line since 11:30, okay? And all I'm telling you is that to be cautious that when you put a blanket out there that everybody closes their door at 12:45, you will hurt businesses. My business will be hurt. I think that Brian's Ivy Hall might get hurt. I mean, there are people come in late, and you just can't use that example that Hookslides does it, because they are the place to be. I mean, they're hanging outside the door, 50 and 100 in line at 11 o'clock at night, okay? And now all of a sudden, those people, from a city perspective and a business perspective, okay, they just won't come downtown. They'll go someplace else. They'll go someplace else.
They're not going to go to suburbia.
Drake, it closes at 2 o'clock. I don't know about the other towns, but I mean, Drake is probably one of the closest communities down here. All of their bars close at 2 o'clock. They'll go to Drake it. I don't want to seem disrespectful, and I don't mean to be. I just want you to look at the totality. Like Brian said, he says right now, 12:45 is great, but maybe 2 years from now, when there's a different business that is in favor and has the lines outside the door, then Brian may not want to close at 12:45 because he may want to get the overflow, okay, from the other businesses, because this is cyclical. I mean, everybody has their turn. And I just want to throw that out to you before you kind of say, oh, well, Hookslides does, it's 12:45. Okay?
I just have a question for the chief. Chief, are there certain times of the year where you see, is the summertime an example of when you see more altercations, when you see, sort of a spike in, probably more people downtown versus, other times of the year? Is it pretty much consistent?
Well, I would say that this past summer has been very busy, and I would attribute that to the Hookslide Kelly's does indeed have that outdoor concept, which allows people to gather outdoors, and a lot of places now have the outdoor areas. The Blue Shamrock does, and I know that the people at the Village Smokehouse have requested outdoor seating. So that has certainly increased the number of people who visit these establishments and have outside drinking areas.
And all those establishments that have outside seating area, that it's probably kind of a rudimentary question, but they can serve alcohol outside. It's not restricted just to inside, or is that what you refer to?
They have a closed off area that is restricted, a fenced in area, so to speak, and people stay within that area and consume the alcoholic beverages there.
Okay, thanks. All set.
Well, before we adjourn, or recess, rather, I've known owners of pubs and taverns in this city for decades. And many of those people contribute to the community through scholarships, through donations to charities, and so forth. They are good businesses and abide by the law. And I think the point we're trying to stress here, how can we address the patrons who come in from suburbia and they want to get that last drink, and sometimes it's not one, it's 3 or 4. We're not kidding ourselves. And they want to come into Lowell and get that last nightcap. We all know what's going on. We had a very important Public Safety Subcommittee meeting, I believe it was in March, because of an incident that happened in January in this city. And at that meeting, there was the entire Lowell delegation from Beacon Hill, District Attorney Leone, Superintendent of Police Ken LaValle, the Secretary of Public Safety for Governor Patrick, and there was a colonel at that meeting from the state police. And I'm going to quote what that colonel said. The most successful sobriety test in the entire state of Massachusetts is when they conduct one in Lowell, on Thorndike Street. And where do you think those people are going on Thorndike Street at 2:30 in the morning? To the Lowell Connector, to go back to suburbia. And the colonel said it's outstanding. It's the best sobriety test in the entire state. And I think that's the issue before us. There's a reason why there's pubs and taverns in suburbia that close at 1 o'clock. Just go home, you got to go to work the next day. And Chief, I'm looking forward, the subcommittee's looking forward to this report, and that report, the recommendations, we will transfer that report to the License Commission. And I want to thank everyone for your attendance. I want to thank those owners who came to that podium and were frank and honest with this subcommittee. And with that said, I will entertain a motion to recess, and I want to thank the clerk, Brian Leahy. He did an awful lot of hard work prior to this meeting. Normally, we don't have subcommittee meetings on a Thursday evening, especially when it's a candidates night, but we felt this was so important that we had to have it. So with that said, I'll entertain a motion to recess by Council Elliott, seconded by Council Dakota. And ma'am, if you can stay for 5 or 10 minutes, I'd like to talk with you and the chief, okay? Thank you so much for your attendance, and we'll get back to you.